I'm in the beautiful city of Sydney, Australia, visiting my friends at Flutes and Flutists, the venerable flute shop here in Sydney. This morning we're going to meet Angus McEwan, their flute technician. Come upstairs and meet Angus with me. All right, and we're live.
We're live.
We're
It's
live.
all happening.
So we're here in the workshop today in Sydney, Australia of Flutes and Flutists, and we're visiting with Angus McEwan. Angus, how did you get into repair?
Well, bit of a round and about way. I'd been a flute player and a saxophone player for many years, and had, since being a student, had always had an interest in repairs, and had always wanted to get into it. Started a degree as a player, and then went out from there and got into teaching, and was teaching and performing for 10 years or so, and had at that point ended up moving away from teaching and went into a retail job, and had tried to get into repairs. So I visited various repair shops, and I'm sure this is a familiar story for repairers. Tried to get an apprenticeship, and particularly in a country like Australia, there's a lot less repairers and a lot less repair shops, and people are very busy, and same old story. It was, well, you know, haven't got any time, haven't got any space. I'd spent quite a lot of time with the guy who did my saxophone repairs for me, who was a wonderful guy. And he'd given me information about the courses that you can do. So I'd looked into that a little bit, but it just kind of hadn't worked out. And primarily I was interested in flute repair because it was my main instrument, and also I was just more interested in the flute, I guess, than the other instruments. And so that was a dead end, and so I kind of shelved it for a while. But then when I came to work for Flutes and Flutists, which was Flute Fidelity at the time, I'd mentioned to David that was something I was really interested in doing, and we kind of flagged as something that we might be able to do down the track. So I kind of got lucky, I suppose, in that I came to work for a business that was very open to allowing and helping people to get what they wanted out of the job and the company. And so we were very lucky in that we had a flute maker from the States come and visit us, Clifford Tredick from Brannan at the time, and that's how I got started. So he was with us for a couple of months, and I got started working with him, and our flute repairer at the time, who was off-site, got involved with helping with training as well, and it kind of went from there. But probably wouldn't have gone all that much further apart from another kind of leap of faith, I suppose, in that my wife then got a job in the United States for a couple of years, so I got to go and live in the States with her, and then it all went from there. So I went down to North Carolina and spent time with Clifford, and also we went to spend time at Chris Abel's place. And then I spent 2 years in Philadelphia, and I had a friend who knew somebody in Philadelphia who ran a repair shop, and they needed a flute guy, so I kind of just fell into it from there. So it was almost by chance that I managed to get there in the end, but not from want of trying prior to that. So I'd spent a lot of time hassling people here without any luck at all, and ended up getting what I wanted through fate, really, I think.
Yes. And as a flute specialist, there must be certain challenges with that high-end work, particularly. Are there particular challenges that you remember that were kind of instrumental in either growth or in?
I guess when I first moved back to Australia, after having only been doing repairs for 2 or 3 years, I came back as the flute repairer for the business, and the business was affiliated with a larger company at the time that did a whole bunch of other things, but we really only had myself and a beginner repairer at the time. And so I remember coming back to Australia and feeling at the time that was going to be a big challenge, and that there was going to be mountains to climb that I wasn't sure that I was going to be capable of climbing. And what I really noticed at that time was how instrumental the training I'd got in Philadelphia had been, because I'd worked with someone who was a fantastic teacher, but who was very much the sort of person that you would go to with a problem and would say to you, okay, well, you know, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, but fundamentally you need to work out how to do it. So you go away and work on the problem, and then come back when you've got an idea, and we can talk about where to go from there. So I think I was really lucky in that I had teachers who were great at what they did, but were very much promoted problem-solving thinking. And so I think that was a fundamental aspect of that training. And so when I came back, certainly on the high-end stuff, because I came back and we were doing a lot of Powells and a lot of Brannans, and so that was a bit of a challenge. But I found that training really kicked in, and that those problem-solving skills really came to the fore. And having been forced to be in a situation where you couldn't ask someone for help really made a big difference at that point, I think. I'd also gone and done the Straubing course before I'd come home as well, so I had that. That was a relatively new thing at that point for us, and yeah, so I found that to be the one really big thing that I came away with appreciating from the time in the States was problem-solving ability, which I don't think was necessarily natural for me, but became a way of thinking that really, really helped.
And what's next for you?
What's next? Oh, there's a big question. What's next? We've talked about making head joints. That's something I'd really like to do. We've done a little bit of fiddling backwards and forwards with that, and I mean, we'd love to make some flutes, but I don't think that's going to happen in the next decade. You'd be well aware of the processes involved in that, and so I think that's probably not going to happen. But next would be head joints. I think we'd really like to make a kind of a mid-range head joint to put on our own line of flutes. So that's a work in progress. I think that's something I'd really like to be involved with anyway. Yeah.
Well, we'll certainly enjoy following your progress on that and other projects, and want to thank you for talking to us today.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Angus.
Great to have you in Australia.
Enjoy the visit.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.